All right, I got her to quit talking back. Had to put her ass on the ground.
I wanted to talk about,
Damn, Yeezy.
I'll turn it so everybody can see.
There we
You could
go.
put it there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
put it down
okay.
there.
Holy mother of hell, that's a heavy computer. Good God.
You can see all of our beautiful faces.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Hey, Felicia,
Hey, y'all.
are you in the car?
Yeah, dance day.
Oh. You don't go in
Today is
the car?
dance day. Today is dance day.
Soccer tonight?
All right, let's talk about hire agency and why we want to get it. I looked up the last time we recorded a conversation about this, it was last October.
Oh, right on time.
So I guess every year is probably a minimal a good time to talk about this, probably a little bit more. But let's start off just kind of going around the room and let's make some points about why it's important to get buyer agency, what the purpose of buyer agency is. Krista, what's the purpose?
Well, it sets the stage that we're working together. I'm a professional and you and I are under contract to get this done.
What else, Felicia?
I mean, it's to get paid, yo.
Yo.
That's fair. Brandon?
Test close. Are you taking
Test
it
close.
seriously or not?
That's very good. Talk a little bit more about that, just for the people who aren't familiar with test close.
Well, it's we're always closing for the next step every time we have a conversation, right? Whether that's closing for an appointment or setting the tone to get them to talk to a lender or answer my phone the next time you call instead of send me to voicemail and act like you don't remember talking to me when you do. So really the test close is just to make sure, as I tell people, we're moving the ball down the football field. We want to keep the progress. We want to keep the process moving along forward so that eventually we get them under contract and they get in a new home. And if they won't sign agency with you to get you to represent them, what are the odds that they're going to take any of these other metrics we have by which to gauge our success and get them prepared seriously? So,
You don't want to waste your time.
right. Having said that, in full disclosure, I am one of the worst people when it comes to asking for agency. So this is just as important for me as it is for anybody else, because I always assume if I can get in front of them once, why would you want to work with anybody else? And that's really a mistake, just being transparent.
Brandon, I kind of have to agree with you. And I know Doug and I don't see eye to eye on this because of conversations I've had with you, and I'm trying to shift my mindset. But I know me personally, if I met with an agent once, maybe twice, and you're already asking me to sign something, maybe I'm afraid of commitment. Maybe I have issues. I don't know. But I want you to back off a little bit. There's a time and place for it. I think after I've shown you one home, I don't see the point in it. But I'm also confident that you're going to work with me. So I don't feel that that piece of paper means anything. Now, I have been burned once, maybe twice, but more likely I haven't been. So I'm trying to open up my mind to seeing different ways and how to approach it moving forward.
Well,
I'm the same way. I'm very situational. I try to fill out the
Right.
situation. If I feel like they're flaky, then I'll try to push it. If I feel like they're scared and they need a little coaxing, then I try not to push it too much. But I definitely, it's very situational for me.
Well, and the way I see it, if they're flaky or wishy-washy, I don't know if I really want to work with you. I mean, here's the thing. If you sign buyer agency with me and down the road, you're like, I want to work with a different agent. Well, that's never happened. But two, nobody's ever said, I want out of agency with you. And if they did, bye, see ya. I guess we'd go after a referral. But at the end of the day, I don't want to work with you.
I think you both make really good points. I want to preface kind of this conversation by how we're phrasing it with our language. You're not pushing anything on anybody. And if you've got in your mind that that's what you're doing already, you're already coming from a more difficult place than it has to be. You know, It's about setting the expectation. This is part of the process. It's a normal part of the process.
And I always try to say, this is one of the first things that after you get your pre-approval, then, I'll send you the contract saying that you and I are working together, because we have to have these two things done and in writing before we can present an offer anyway. So if we get that out of the way, we can focus solely on finding your house.
And that's a good time to do it. I
Yeah,
agree with that.
A little bit of the prep up, and sometimes I'll just email it to them
Yeah, I
after I've
think,
already met with them.
I think that's one of the bigger points too, is it's only a thing if you make it a thing.
Yeah,
If it's just a natural, like, next step,
Yeah.
then
It can be as easy as the working with real estate
Yeah.
agents brochure if you bring the topic up the right way. And that's why, we talked about last week, having the buyer consult. If you take the time to do that, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to ask for agency at the buyer consult, right? That's not the point of the consult.
right.
But that's where you lay the groundwork that, hey, as we begin to go out and look at homes, we're going to make sure that you're pre-approved and you're in a position to write an offer. And also that we're formalizing our relationship so I can work on your behalf. Juliana, somebody needs to get in. Can you let them in?
How do you do that?
You just click on the blue bar up there at the top.
Right there.
but to your point, Brandon, it is a test close, and then to Felicia's point, I think it is situational. In the sense that, there's sometimes where you definitely want to use it as a test close. For example, if you have someone that's like in Kinston and,
Oh, yeah. for
they're like,
sure.
I want to see this house for $45,000. And, I've got the cash. Well, okay, I at least need this to do it.
Yeah.
That's good. But then there's other times where I think, you're right too, where you're comfortable on that first showing where you're like, okay, I've got these people, I don't need to do anything
Yeah.
right now. So
Yeah.
I think it is, I don't think you always have to ask for it right away, but there are times where,
It's necessary.
and it's also, cover your butt too.
At the end of the day, it has to happen anyways. So normalize it at the beginning of your relationship with them and use it as a test close and get it out of the way.
Mhm.
You see it?
a guy that I used to work with.
Oh, yeah, I saw it this morning.
The way that he would get people to do agency, and it's actually kind of slick, is, right off the bat, the first house he would show them, or the first house that they inquired with him for information on, he would say, hey, in North Carolina, I'm really not supposed to engage with a listing agent or work on your behalf, attempt to negotiate or anything like that until you've actually hired me as your agent. I can actually get in trouble for that. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and establish that relationship formally. It's just a document that says I have the ability to represent you in negotiations. And that's how he would present buyer agency, which I think makes sense in a lot of ways. I would probably curb the language and do it a little bit different than he did. But it's not a bad approach. Hey, instead of asking me to get information on these 6 homes when I don't even have you under agency, I need you to commit to doing this to me. And here's why, because I could actually create a problem for myself by not doing it.
It's all about how you present it. It really is.
One of the teachers in post licensing, she would not show any house without having any type of buyer agency, even if it was just for a day. She would always make sure she got buyer agency.
That's extreme.
That's
That's a lot of
I
paperwork.
know, but I was
But
like,
some people
she,
can afford to do that.
yeah,
Right.
I was about to
Yeah.
say, but she
Yeah.
was, and she told us, don't ever do that. I'm like,
Hadn't you rather be in the position for your business where you can afford to do
Hell
that,
yeah.
mhm.
right? Well, you're never going to get there if you don't want to get there in your own mind, right?
Yeah.
It's not like one day you're going to wake up and you're going to say, oh, I'm so busy. Well, I can just say this now. You're going to want to be there.
Mhm.
And part of that is being selective who you work with and not wasting your time. And you know what? Yeah, I think my gut's pretty good too, but my gut has screwed me more than once with people who I thought were solid that I spent plenty of time with.
So at that point, would you just go after a referral? Because if you're going to screw me, I don't want to work with you.
Well, they screwed me because I didn't ask for agency.
No, I'm saying, but I mean, so at that point, those, in my mind, those kind of people, if they're going to just drop me and go to another agent without agency, did I really want to work with them anyway? Yeah, I've wasted a lot of time, but what does that referral get you? Just a referral from the agent that they're working with?
You can do that, yeah.
Right. But I mean, is that what the end result is for where you're talking about if you're going to screw me?
I think you're looking at it from the wrong way. You're focused on something that happens 5 out of 100 times and not
Right.
the other 95.
Well, and I think that's why I do think the way I do, because it's just, like you said, you're making an issue and it's not. I guess I'm the opposite. I don't even think of it because I'm not even worried about it. I know it's in a conversation, it's going to happen, but it happens naturally when it's time to write an offer. And I do like saying like, yep, in order for me to talk to the listing agent, let's make this official. And that may be something I change in my scripting, but I don't know in the past how it's affected my business negatively by not having it out of the gates.
So Krista, are you giving agency the same day you're writing offers?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I think I got burned last week really hard by this Zillow call, and she wanted to see this house that like immediately went under contract. And I spent a lot of time helping her, or I contacted the builder and got like the future builds of that floor plan and stuff for her. And I was like, are you working with the real estate agent? And she's like, no. And I'm like, well, I'd love to help you and be your agent. And so, I spent a couple of days like really talking to her and getting information for her. And then she ghosted me for 2 days. And then I finally was like, hey, are you okay? Because she's local. And when she called me off Zillow, she had like a screaming baby in the car and she was lost on the side of the road. And so I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, we found another house with another agent. And I'm like, I think she probably just called whoever was listed on Zillow,
Yeah. And I don't know if you could have gotten around that, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those things happen.
Yeah.
Well, I think she could have gotten
Especially
around
with
it.
Zillow shoppers.
You could have gotten around it if you had her under agency. And honestly, that's one of the mistakes that I made, because I wouldn't be at this point, roughly 2+ years into doing real estate full time and not putting my foot on the gas for agency every single time. If from the get-go, I just would have started doing this from the beginning. That's why I think it's especially important for new agents as soon as they start to go ahead and get comfortable with the idea of this is how this is supposed to be done. I'm kind of set in my ways right now. Christy, you're the same way. And I am definitely trying to change.
I am too.
that.
I'm trying to change my
But-
mindset on it.
But if we had started out on the other way where I feel like we do make too big of a deal out of our agency mentally, the way that we think of it based on our past success. When we started out, like if we were in the position that like Ashley, like you're in, right off the bat, hey, this is how we're going to do this thing. This is the way that this works. I'm committed. We're a commitment. We're doing this together. Then you wouldn't have gotten burned, right? So I think if you're starting out fresh, don't take the approach that Krista and I have had, because we're trying to unravel how we think about that. Start out on the right foot and know that this is better for your business long term to go ahead and get comfortable doing that from the get-go.
And here's the thing, none of us are doing this primarily selfishly, right? Yeah, we have to look out for us, but that's not the only reason we're doing this. It's part of the process. And it's part of these people wrapping their minds around, hey, this is who I want to work with. This is what they're going to do for me. I'm selecting you to do that and committing to you because you're going to guide me through this process that I've asked you to guide me through. And it's also about mentally wrapping my mind around, okay, here are the steps. Now we're at step 2. We've taken step 2. We can go to step 3. Things happen in order. It's up to us to set the expectations for what that order looks like. Take advantage of the opportunity to do that because people don't understand the order. We're the ones setting the expectations. They might come with their own preconceived notions, but they're giving us the opportunity to set those straight if we take it. Use it to your advantage, not just to protect yourself, also to protect your client, because that's legally what you're doing if you're asking agents questions on their behalf and you don't have agency, right? And then you're just that much more prepared to make something happen when it's time to make something happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a really good point.
David.
That's a really good point, right? Because unless you have buyer agency, technically you're a seller sub-agent, right?
Yep.
So that's another way that I've actually never once thought about before in terms of buyer agency. Theoretically, you could share that information at will, and there's nothing that a potential buyer could do. You owe them no fiduciary obligation whatsoever until they sign the agency agreement.
Yeah, and I kind of, sometimes I pry on the loyalty piece a little bit and say, you know, I'm very loyal to my clients. And, you know, I get into a little bit of what the difference is between, you know, a client and a customer. But then I also say, hey, you know, I'm very efficient with my time and I need that time to spend with my clients. And if you hire me, then I'm gonna put that time towards you. But it's
No, I mean,
unfair for me to put that time to somebody who's not gonna give it back to me when it should be devoted to my other clients.
That's right.
So that's something I
They need
thought.
to just respect your time and your energy and your effort because.
Well, don't say you, say the time that's for your
Yeah,
other,
yeah.
your real clients. You know what I'm saying?
But don't- did you say
What is happening?
I don't know if that,
That's time
No, it
away
makes
from your
sense.
other clients.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you're not- Yeah, for sure. When I don't have, a commitment from you.
because I think before, and I thought about this, because we covered this, maybe it was last October. I think I said something about, you know, time away from my family, but it's, you know, don't put me into it.
Yeah.
Just use it.
Yeah,
for-
you never want to make it about you. It's all about them. At the end of the day, it really is about them. It's about how you help them understand that it's about them.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are options. You can sign it for a day. You can sign it for this property, okay? Help people understand you don't have to lock them into a 3-month buyer agency agreement. It's just better because we're both protected and I'm protecting, I'm doing my fiduciary obligation to you by protecting you, but I can't do it unless we're under agency. So just understand that. And hell, we sign it for a week. After we look at these houses, you decide you don't want to look with me anymore, bye. I'll let you go. But then we're going to extend it because you're going to want to keep working with me.
Matter of fact, you gotta sign the second box that says for multiple properties for the rest of your life.
Agent for life.
I had a question about that, Doug. I don't think you can sign it for just one property anymore. I think it's a date.
Oh, on the new form, you mean,
The
Brandon?
new buyer agency does not allow you to put in a property address. I mean, I guess unless we have it as like Triangle and Coastal MLS or whatever it is. Can you put in that area 123 Main Street, Holly Ridge?
Yeah, you can just replace it with an
Yeah.
address.
Okay, that's how you get around that. Okay.
Like a lot of investors do that. Like I'm using
Yeah.
you for this one and I'm using you for this one and I'm using you for this one. Yeah.
Mhm. What other thoughts do you guys have on this?
I think that you can also remind them, this expires after you close on your house. Like this is not forever and ever.
I'm gonna be your
Yeah.
agent for life,
Yeah.
but you know, this doesn't say that. You're
Yeah.
just gonna
Even though the date says 6 months, if we get you into a house and close on the house, that.
win.
When,
Not if,
not
when.
if, when.
Mhm.
I didn't even hear myself say that. When we
But
get-
yeah, that's another great
Yeah.
point to make. It also gives you the opportunity to explain, hey, you don't pay me.
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
services are
that's-
complimentary to you.
Exactly.
So it's not like by signing this, you're committing to write me a check. I'm never gonna get $1 from you
That's right.
unless you buy a fist back.
And you feel like shit having to ask them, like,
Any other thoughts?
It's something I need to get better at. I'm really laissez-faire about it. I'm trying to change that as I meet new people, especially ones that aren't in my sphere. I'm trying to get better at it.
I have it filled out at the buyer agency or the buyer consult agreement or appointment, just in case. You
I don't
know?
think there's
Yeah.
anything wrong
I
with
don't think
getting
there
it
is,
then. If people, I've had people
If they're
sign it then.
hot or whatever.
Yeah, I've had people sign it on the hood of the car
Yeah,
30 minutes after I met them and
Yeah.
showed them 2 houses.
yeah,
That's fine. Always keep one with you.
oh, yeah.
If you get agency, right?
Mhm.
But it's not, it's about coming to the mutual understanding is as important as getting them to sign anything. We're both on the same page about why we're doing this,
I think.
why it's important to both of us.
Yeah, and especially if they're like first-time home buyers or first-time North Carolina home buyers and understanding the process that like we've been saying, this is step A before we can write the offer. I think it makes it more, I think it takes the pressure off
Yeah.
of them more when you say, okay, if we get this done, pre-approval done, boom, then we can focus on the house.
Especially people who haven't done it a while
Right.
or have never done it before. They're wondering how you get paid at some point.
Yeah.
Am I gonna pay you? This gives you the opportunity to explain, no, the seller pays commission in North Carolina, but I can't negotiate on your behalf unless we have an agreement together.
Or when you're looking at houses, and you fall in love with a house and you want to write an offer, I can't without buyer agency.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and get this out of the way and we'll be covered. That way, all we have to do is write the offer when it's time to go. Because we want to move as quick as possible in this market. Other thoughts? What do you typically use as your time frame, Brandon?
Say it again.
What do you typically use as your time frame for agency?
Honestly, it depends on who they are. If it's a sphere lead, I'm not worried about it at all. I don't think most people are, but once I start, I'll in the past, what I've been doing is I would do a buyer consult. I don't ask for it at the buyer consult. I typically try to get it the next time I show them a house. I'll show anybody a house one time because I want to figure out if I want to work with you or not. And I feel like I can tell that at the consult. I can tell that, but more importantly, the first time I show you a house, I feel like I can tell if you're serious about it or not.
So think of it from this approach. We always want to get in front of people before we show them a house, right? And do a consult when we can. So we have the chance to set these expectations. Now, honestly, a lot of times we don't because we get a lead, they want to see a house and we're going to meet them where they are because that's part of what we do. But if we can take the time to sit down with someone and go through the consult, it gives us a chance to set those expectations. And one of those expectations can be, hey, after this, we're going to build your search. We're going to go out and look at houses, make sure we want to work together. Before we go out again, we'll formalize that buyer agency agreement because we're agreeing that we want to work with each other.
If I get a buyer consult, I always ask for agency. I always build the search with them while we're sitting there. And then I always get agency and working with at the consult. It's a little harder whenever you're doing a consult because if I get buyer consult, like we get to sit down and have a meeting, I do it on my laptop. If I'm having to do it in a house while we're walking through it at a countertop or whatever, I use my binder. But if I get to sit down with them, I always ask for buyer agency, always get working with, and I always personally write my agency for 6 months. That's what I do, always.
I do too. I do 6 months and I change the date that like 90 days or whatever. If you buy a house within 90 days, I always change that to 180. Those are the two changes I always make.
At the end of the buyer consult, the last thing you do is you say, okay, now we're going to do the fun thing. We're going to build your search, and you open up the Boomtown account and build the search form right there.
Haven't most of them already been built?
Well, not if you just did a buyer consult with them. I mean,
It's
they might
based
have,
on what they looked at, but you're editing it.
yeah, and you can, or you do it this way. Like I had a sphere lead sit to me, right? Or a lead from a referral sent to me. I put them in Boomtown. I didn't build a search because I said, we'll do that when we do our buyer consult. Well, at the end of the buyer consult, I built the search together with them. I said, okay, let's go through your criteria. I drew the area and I said, all right, here's X amount of houses. Is that too many or not enough?
I like that.
And then if they're ready, they're already pre-approved. All right, we got 10 matches. Which 4 are your favorite? Let's start there. We'll go see those. None of those work. We'll start further down the list.
So I have a referral and they're coming into town Friday for a buyer consult. We're doing showing Saturday. I already set up her search. We built it on the phone together, but at our buyer consult, I'm going to sit down with her. We'll go over it, make sure things are set correctly. And then we're going to go through her matches and then set up our list for our showings the next day. That way I can book our appointments for our showings the next day. That's how I'm going to do that one since I already have her search built.
That's perfect. And yeah, if somebody has already gone on the site and you already did the e-alert form or they already built their own and you have a buyer consult later, bring it up then and review it with them then. All right, how can we rein this in? How can we tighten it up if it's too big? Or how can we expand it if you're not getting enough results? And then there's nothing better than pulling up a screen and these are the homes that match what you tell me you want. Which one's it gonna be? Because that's it.
Yeah, we have one.
I mean,
I don't know. I think we're just gonna wait a little bit until the right one is on the market.
let's edit your criteria to give you more options.
Yeah, I feel like some people don't know what they want until they start looking, and then they know they don't want specific things, so you change it.
We're gonna wait until something looks good before we get motivated to move.
Okay,
forward.
watch, I'll talk to you in a month.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what I did.
For people who, I don't see anything that I like, well, let's go, we haven't opened any doors together. Let's go open some doors together. Because people always start to bring up different things once we start walking through home.
And if they don't like.
Right.
Don't like.
And pictures can be deceiving both ways.
Yes, they can.
And you know what I love about when people start giving their opinions? I can remember that, so the next time we see it, or I can be like, you know what? I hate that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually don't give my opinion, but you're right. And what are you doing? You're building a relationship in your trust with them. I'm just saying, use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
That's why we're better in front of people and not on the telephone. Figure out how to get in front of them. The relationship, the strength of the relationship will improve exponentially by being in front of people. But you got to get in front of people and then make the most of being in front of them. Don't just be happy to be in front of them. What are you doing to move the needle when you're together? What questions are you asking? What objections are you overcoming? What are you acknowledging and asking about? What are you pointing out from their list that a thing has or doesn't have? What are you helping them prioritize on their list because they want 10 things and they'll settle for 8 of them? So what are the 2 that we can leave out?
Yeah.
I have the 90-10, the 90% conversation with folks a lot. Hey, it's hard to get 100% even if you build a house. I guarantee you'll be in a month and then be like, I wish I'd done something different. What is it we know we have to have?
You do 90-10?
What do you do?
You do not. I do 80-10, 80-20.
I was about to say 80-10, Brandon.
Brandon's like 50-50.
That's what-
You're gonna like half of your house tops.
It's got electricity. What more do you expect?
Right now in this market.
You got running water in a toilet.
Got a roof over
You get
there.
10%. It's got walls. Maybe
Your
you're.
refrigerator's on the porch. Suck it up.
Refrigerator's on the porch. Oh, that's sad because I've seen that before.
I have
But
to.
regardless of the numbers, the conversation is the same. You're setting the same expectations. You're helping them arrive at a point. Always have the conversation, let's focus on getting the things that we can't change or that are really hard to change. Location, layout. You can't move, or it's really hard to move a house. It's really hard to get a different type of lot or, improve the lot. It's really easy to paint.
You will always have flood insurance. Forever and ever, amen.
Yeah. I feel like we've gone off a little bit and gone more back to the consult, but all these conversations you're having are because they're trusting you to be their agent. So make sure you're their agent. If you can't mentally get over the hurdle that you're asking for something too soon, or that you're putting them in a position that they don't need to be in, or you're being pushy, nobody can do anything about that for you. That's your mindset. And it's going to make your job harder, I promise. I don't want your job to be harder. I know we don't always get it because we have certain feelings about certain folks, and that's fine to a degree, but especially starting out in this full-time, Adam, Ashley, completely starting out, you want to make sure that you're focused on the best way to do things. This is the best way to do it. I promise you.
I think what I'm going to start doing is I'll do that consult and I'll do the one showing. And if I feel the one showing goes well, I'm just going to go in for the kill at the end of it and say, listen, this has been great today. I'd love the opportunity to help you moving forward. I'd like to formalize this relationship so that I can best protect you moving forward. Let me know when you're ready to do that so we can keep going.
I think if you get the consult,
Let me know when
Yeah, I think it was great until you said, let me know.
Just go in for it.
you're
Yeah.
terrible about that.
Okay.
They won't let you know jack shit.
No.
And because I'll catch myself when I go to text somebody,
Yeah.
let me know when you want to go see it. No,
Mhm.
I can go see it X, Y, and Z, which works best for you.
Gotcha. Okay.
And if you set that expectation, Brandon, during the consult, revisit it. Hey, remember when we did the consult, we sat down and we talked about after seeing homes, deciding to work together, we're going to formalize it with the agency agreement. I think this went great and we're going to work great together. Here's the agency agreement. let's go and get this out of the way. What do you want to see next?
Yeah.
Or,
Sometimes you don't have to have that last sentence at all.
Yeah.
well, yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
or my next question was, what are we gonna make the offer on at?
And I think sometimes if you're in the consult, you can gauge that to where you don't even have to give them the first showing to get the agency. Sometimes you can tell if they're in the consult or not, if you can go ahead and just ask for it. Every time I've had a consult and I've went ahead and presented them with agency agreement, I've gotten it every single time at the consult without even
Those
doing a show.
people are going to sign it
Yeah.
if you
They
put
get
it
an
in
agent
front of them.
Yeah.
And that's why if you don't, and they're talking to different agents, you're gonna lose them to another agent, because some other agent is gonna put it in front of them. I guarantee you.
I think that's fair.
I think it's a good point. All right, I don't think we need to belabor this. I think it's kind of to the point. Hopefully, it makes sense. What I would encourage newer folks to do is, Juliana, if you've never done this, Ashley, if you've never done this, find out when somebody's gonna be in the office and do a buyer consult and ask if you can fit in on it.
Just coming to mine on Thursday.
Well,
Today.
I'm doing one Friday.
See, look,
Thursday.
mhm.
there's a bunch right
Is it gonna be
there.
weird
Great
if it goes-
opportunities. Meredith sat in on two of mine last week up there. Just sit in. People aren't gonna care. They're like, hey, we've got a younger agent on our team. She just wanted to kind of sit in on this and see how. I feel
And this is
about
a
it.
good one too, because they're not pre-qualified yet. They're kind of some time out. They've got a lease, but I told them, hey, let me
Start the
talk to you about the
conversation. Yeah.
process.
We can even do role playing buyer agent or buyer consult too if you want. I mean, I can be a buyer and you can do your consult if you want to practice.
It's a good idea.
Thanks, Felicia.
If you haven't watched, there's a buyer consult video on the resource page. If you hadn't looked at that recently, do that. There's another one of these videos. I'll put this one on the page today after it downloads, but there's another one of these getting buyer agency agreements on the resources page as well. And it's only like 15 minutes. So, so check them both out.
Easy day.
I think the more you do it, the easier it gets because the first 2 times is scary as hell.
A lot of it is your own mental hurdle. It's like when you first start making calls, you feel like you're bothering people. No, you're not. They registered on your website. Make the call, move on. It's part of the process. Use it to help
And if
them
they're
and
not
yourself.
first-time home buyers and they're like, oh, I've done this before, I've bought a lot of homes. Okay, well, have you ever bought a home in North Carolina? Yeah, well, it's been okay, great. So a lot of this will be very familiar to you, but there are some new forms. And so let's just put a face to a name so you can know what it's like working with me and my firm. And we'll get the documents signed that are necessary. Just make it super like.
Well, dot
And it
the i's
doesn't
and
have
cross
to
the
be-
t's and
Yeah.
get it over with.
Exactly, James.
There you go. That's exactly right.
Everybody forgets about that.
Thank you. I said Doug and he didn't know who it was
I didn't.
or what I was quoting.
Okay, that was good. You guys good?
Yeah.
You're gonna take a lot of notes.
See y'all.
Wait,
She's like, it's all right here. It's all right here.
did you guys see Doug's outfit today?
I was like, your top is so official.
Jesus.
You never put your, it's his frat boy shirt.
It's
Yeah.
like 40
He was
degrees
so ready
out.
for Zoom.
My zipper broke on my jeans. I only have one pair of jeans with me.
Jesus. Get it together.
He was ready for a Zoom
Doug.
meeting.
Nah.
You're lucky you had those.
Thanks for playing, kids.
Bye.
Hope it was helpful.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Yeah.